Welcome to the Trippi Coaching Podcast. It's that time again, the end of the month, which means we're diving into our Q&A session. We've got some great questions today from our listeners. First up, we're talking about stretching. When should you do it? Before or after you hit the weights? Next, we'll tackle a classic workout question. Is it better to have a protein shake before or after you exercise? And lastly, we're sorting out a common confusion. When should you use ice? And when should you use heat? Stay tuned, and we're going to get to these topics right now.
The Trippi Coaching Podcast is sponsored by Hairborn Salon. This week we put the spotlight on the owner, operator, and stylist himself, Mr. Dave Ragona, the brains behind the direction and muscle behind the design of Hairborn Salon. As a master stylist, published artist, and designer, Dave's talents lie in creating the perfect haircut for each individual, expertly catering to every detail. Specializing in barbering, Dave's out-of-the-box approach crushes men's styling from pompadours to full-color prints and graphics by combining barbering techniques with salon styling. Check out Hairborn Salon at hairbornsalon.com and make sure that you mention the Trippi Coaching Podcast to receive 10% off your next service. Well, hello there, Andrea.
Hey, Tommy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Welcome back.
Yes, here we are. It is end of the month, and we know what that means. It's time for our Q&A. So over the last month, we've had clients and listeners hit us up with various questions. We do respond to them in real time, of course, when people ask us these things, but we like to bring them to the show so that, I think today especially we've got some that are some pretty common questions that a lot of people ask, and I certainly have heard many times over the years. So our first question we have today is about stretching.
Yeah, this question comes from Michael. Should I stretch before or after I lift? And he's specifically talking about weightlifting.
Right. So with weightlifting, light stretching is fine, just to kind of loosen up your muscles. What I personally like people to do is do some sort of warm-up, even if it's just a brisk walk on the treadmill or 10 minutes on the elliptical, and not killing yourself, because I don't want people doing a lot of cardio before they lift. You want to keep those energy reserves, but it's good just to warm up the muscles and get your blood flowing first. If you're going to do any extended stretching, save it for after the workout. And I highly recommend stretching after a workout. Too many people just finish their workout and walk out of the gym.
Yeah.
And gyms have gotten a lot better about providing stretching equipment too, things to get on that help you, get in the right positions and stretch. So if you don't know what to do, they, usually have something that shows you how to do it, and a machine that'll help you do it too.
I always tell my clients to do some type of dynamic warm up. So like you said, the walking on the treadmill to get that blood flowing, kind of increase your heart rate a little bit,
Right.
Because then when you lift the weights, you're going to get a cardio benefit out of it as well. Your heart rate's up, you're moving. Dynamic stretching basically means you're moving while you're stretching. You're not just holding or bouncing on it.
Right.
But definitely do a slow stretch at the end. It calms your nervous system down. It increases your flexibility. It just moves that blood all around to repair your muscles. The cons to it is if you do too much of a stretching before you lift weights, you're going to have decreased strength. You're already going to be tired. The 20 minutes of that sugar being used up, the glycogen in your blood, already starts ticking. So we want to get those sets in first.
And you do want to have a little bit of tension in your muscles, because you actually could be more likely to injure yourself if you're lifting, especially if you're lifting significant weight. If you were to stretch, if you were to really super stretch before you worked out, you do run the risk of injury and muscles being too loose and not having enough tension to hold the weight that you're trying to move. So and then on the back end of things, another one of the benefits of stretching afterwards is that as you work out, your muscles fill with what is known as lactic acid, and which is a big cause of inflammation and muscle soreness. So when you stretch after a workout, it releases that lactic acid, or at least some of it, and then you drink water like you're supposed to help flush that out, and then your level of soreness from your workout will be less going forward.
Agreed. And I always like to circle back to the diet. I just had a client yesterday that I met with, and she's a little older. She's almost 70.
Mm-hmm.
And we have her eating better, eating whole meals, her food that she cooks, less restaurant, less boxed foods. And she took 2 classes at the community center back to back. And she couldn't believe how she wasn't as sore as the one time when she took the one class eating more what's the word? A poorer diet. Okay.
Right.
And she goes, I can't believe it. I'm not as sore. I have more energy. So if you eat a healthy meal along with these workouts and the stretching, you're going to be less sore and you're going to have less lactic acid buildup.
I mean, all of this, intertwines with one another, obviously, like you said. But it's, of course, the better your diet is, the less inflammation you're going to have, the less soreness you're going to have. Just as a side note, as long as we're talking about, soreness, smaller muscles tend to be sore the next day. Larger muscles tend to take a little bit longer for that to set in, which is known as DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. Most people experience this after a good leg day. It's usually not the day after, but the day after that it really hits them. And rather than, resorting to, ice and Advil, one of the best things you can do if you're sore is to just move around. Move around and stretch.
The blood will heal you.
Yeah. A short, like if your legs are sore, a short 10-minute walk and then stretch them out afterwards, great. Another great time to stretch is after a warm shower, because your muscles are all warmed up and malleable and they're more likely to be loose. And now don't stand in the shower and do it and slip. So,
but why not?
Yeah. Because
we could start a new thing
we don't want a lawsuit. That's why. But yeah, once you get out of the shower, it's it's a good time because your body's all nice and warmed up. Or if you do a sauna or something like that, it's a good time to stretch as well. So,
but make sure you stretch. Either way, make sure you stretch because if you're lifting and you're getting injuries, you need to stretch. All right. Second question comes from Michelle. Should I have my protein shake before or after my workout?
So generally speaking, I tell people to have it post-workout. The reason is after your workout is when your body's really clamoring for protein. It's really looking for it the most, and it's going to be the most absorbent to it. It's the time when it really wants it, and that's why people have whey protein typically post-workout, because it gets into your bloodstream fast and is able to help heal your muscles quick. Other proteins like casein are slower digesting. Those are something that you would have more as an overnight protein drink. Now, there are situations where protein before a workout can be important, and that's when, let's say, if you're going in on an empty stomach, working out at 6 a.m. or something like that, if you can get one, I would get at least a half hour between you having one and working out. Don't have one and then just go hit the weights or work out or whatever you're doing. I mean, 30 to 45 minutes beforehand in that situation, just to have something in you, then that'll help you with energy. And but you don't want your digestive system working while you're trying to exercise. So that's so there are occasions where having it beforehand is necessary, but I would say more often than not, for your average person, I would have it post-workout.
Yeah, and listen to your body. If you're feeling hungry and you don't have the energy to work out for whatever reason, then have that protein shake or eat something 30 minutes before you lift. I would try to keep it low sugar. For the weight loss benefits, because you don't want, remember, we talked about this in other podcasts in previous episodes, your body's going to burn what's in the blood right then and there. Your body's going to burn what you just ate first before it gets into your your if you're having that protein shake 30 minutes before, that's cool. Your you're also not going to have as much muscle breakdown because you ate that before.
Right.
So it's kind of, it depends on your goal. It depends on your day. There's days that I wake up, a lot of you know that I work out early in the morning. There's days where I wake up and I don't need it. But there's days that I'm like, I'm hungry and I'm not going to be able to get through my workout. So do listen to your body, start to become in tune with it, and you'll figure out when to eat it.
My pre-workout protein drink versus my post-workout protein drink are two different things, and it's just one is just the if I have it beforehand, it's just 2 scoops of protein in water, and that's it. So I'm just taking in the water. If I have it post-workout, well, then I'll throw in a half a cup of dry oats and 1 cup of frozen fruit in there too. So then it's a little more of a meal. You're getting some sugar back into your system post-workout, which is fine. But if your goal is weight loss and you're just trying to have something to satiate you, just to give you some energy to get through the workout, I go with the more stripped down, just, don't load it up with everything. Just have enough that it's just protein, and then go do, give it 30, 40 minutes and then go work out.
Yeah, and keep in mind your digestive tract too. Some people might get a little bloated from protein shakes, and maybe you need to look at a different brand or a higher quality protein.
And you don't necessarily have to have a protein drink if you're going to have something before you work out.
You can
either.
have food too.
You can have
apple.
Yeah, you can still have other things. Yeah. So, we got one more here. Oh, this is ice versus heat.
This is ice versus heat, and when do you use it?
So I get asked this a lot, and the short answer is I tend to tell people ice is almost always going to be the right answer, and it's not worth the gamble to use heat unless you know for sure that it's the right situation for it. So let's talk about that. The reason you use ice is because almost every injury is going to result in inflammation of some sort. So let's say that you bang your head into the doorknob or something like that, and now you got a goose egg on the top of your head. What do people do? They get you a bag of ice to put on the top of your head because it brings down the swelling. Why? Because the reason it's swelling is because of the inflammation. If you go for a long walk and your knees are hurting, you come back, you put ice on them. The reason they're aching and they're hurting is inflammation. If you were to take these scenarios and put heat on this, what it's going to do is it's just literally like throwing lighter fluid onto the fire. You're taking that inflammation and you're making it even hotter. Now there's times where let's say that you lifted, you did a back day and your back is sore, and yeah, it seems like heat would be the right answer because it can relax the muscles and everything, and it will. In the moment, it can feel good. Mm-hmm. But when you stop, whatever inflammation was there is now going to ramp up tenfold. Mm-hmm. And then it's really going to hurt. And then that's when you're pounding Advil and things like that. If you just use ice, you take down that inflammation. This is why professional athletes, after a day of training or an actual event or something like that, do ice baths where they submerge their entire body in ice because they're trying to kill off as much inflammation as they can in their body. And inflammation, not only is it uncomfortable, but it's also the source of most illnesses, diseases. Mm-hmm. It can slow down your progress with muscle building. It can affect your diet. It affects everything in your body. So you're always trying to fight inflammation. The times when you would use heat is if you were to say have like a knotted up muscle that just really needed to relax. That's where heat can come into play, because that's not a result of inflammation. That can be caused by many things. And if you're just trying to loosen the muscle up so that you can like a massage therapist might, put a heating pad on you for a few minutes before they work on you, kind of like what we were talking about post shower, just because it'll help loosen that muscle up, before they get in there and they start working on you. So you wouldn't use ice in that scenario, but that's basically it.
Yeah. So basically, ice for acute injuries, right? Yeah. With inflammation, and heat for improving blood flow and relaxing a muscle. Even if you have a sore muscle and you're trying to go to sleep, that might be something just to relax it, but for a very short time. And you know what? be careful with the method of heat that you use because it can really irritate your skin if you fall. I've fallen asleep on many a heating pads, and I've woken up with many a burns.
You can burn, yeah. And then also with icing, people want to know how long do I ice? So it's good to cycle your icing. And so this is what I typically tell people. I say ice it for about 15 minutes, take the ice off, and then let your body get back to regular body temperature, 98.6, on its own. Don't put heat on it or anything like that. Just let it get back. And once it feels like it's back to normal, then put ice on it again and repeat, maybe 2-3 times, depending on how bad the thing is hurting you. That cycle of ice coming back to body temp, icing again, body temp, it helps bring down that inflammation, and it also sends signals to your brain that this is the part of the body that you're trying to repair and make feel better too. So that's how I would go about doing the ice. So there's our Q&A for this month.
Yeah, that was great. We want to thank everybody who sent these questions in. We really appreciate it. I get so much good feedback from people. Bill that was on our episode.
Of course, yeah.
He came up to me the other day and he said, you guys got this down. He says, it's the perfect length because me and my wife habit stack eating dinner and listening to your podcast at the same time.
Awesome.
So thank you, Bill, for that. It
Hi,
always
Bill.
makes me happy. Hi, Bill.
Shout
Hi,
out
Bill's
to
wife.
Bill. Yes.
Yeah. And
hope you're enjoying your dinner.
And we want to thank all of you for listening. If you're listening, it means you're investing in your health. So, Tommy, can't get any better than this.
No, and it means a lot to us too. So
for sure.
Well, as always, I of course have been who else but Tommy else.
And I'm Andrea Trippi. And until the next time, here's to a healthier, more confident you.
The Trippi Coaching Podcast is produced and mixed by me. Who else but Tommy else? Theme song provided by Professor Click. Be sure and check him out at professorclick.com. All one word, KLIQ.com. The content provided in the Trippi Coaching Podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical, health, wellness advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.